Everywhere we turn, we see division. Everywhere we go, we feel alone. How do we live in a time that is so polarizing and isolating? How do we find meaning in a world filled with so much noise? Where is the understanding and empathy? Where is the freedom from our pain? Join me, Russell Eugene Welch III. This is our journey together as we discover that the answers to life's biggest questions and hardest choices are not some deep, mystical secret locked away in some far-off corner of the universe, but the soft, gentle voice in our own hearts. This is our first step, as together we embark on our incredible adventure of empathy, unity, and understanding. These are the stories of human triumph. Your stories, our stories. This is the struggle for meaning. Welcome to the Struggle for Meaning podcast. I am your host, Russell Eugene Welch III, back for another episode. And today's guest, we have a friend of mine all the way from the sunny state of LA. He's actually been helping us a lot as a consultant for the podcast with our advertising program. I actually worked with him in the past when he ran a, what would you call it?
I'd say it was like a live interactive video arcade is probably the best way to put it.
A live interactive video arcade. And I was one of the talents on the show. They brought me back a few times, and that's where I met Andrew. So Andrew, hi, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, what's up, Russell? Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me. I've never done something like this before, so this is exciting. And I was definitely stoked to be back in touch. Russell was a frequent guest on some of the dating shows I used to produce, and it was always a blast. Yeah, exactly. It was always a blast working with him. So I was stoked to be in touch.
What did you think when I first reached out to you?
Generally, I mean, I knew that I liked you from my interactions with you before. And so when you reached out, I mean, I was a little surprised just because, we work together on more of like a professional basis, but I mean, I always like having new friends. So I was like surprised, but also like happy and curious. And so, when you asked if we could chat, I was just like, yeah, sure. I never like to turn down an opportunity for, something interesting or, a cool connection. And so I was like, pretty immediately just open to seeing what was up and why you reached out. So yeah.
Perfect. Now that I've had my ego stroked, let's talk about you. So what would you describe your personal philosophy as?
Oh, that's a good question.
It's our signature opening question.
I mean, that's something that's like been evolving over time, honestly. And it's something that I'd say only in the last year or so I've taken a moment or several moments to actually like try to, I don't know, kind of put thought into what matters to me. So I don't know if it's so much of a personal philosophy as it is like a sort of like what I find valuable or like what I ascribe value to. But I would say like balance. I would say like balance, learning, constantly being open to growing, and trying to be like curious and humble where you can. So I guess like recently I've been doing a lot of reading, like a lot of just sort of like recalibrating of values and the way I allocate my time. I think there was there was a long period of my life where my personal philosophy was just work as hard as you can, and that was pretty much it. And I think that I've had to evolve that as I've tried to add more complexity and dimensions to my life. So yeah, I guess like balance and humility are definitely things that I think are really important. And also just like trying to like, I mean, these things are so cliched, but like trying to like give credence to like the present moment. Like, I don't want to say like live in the moment, but more like, you know, like sometimes, like, I mean, life doesn't always have to be exciting. Like, my mom always tells me like these are the moments of your life, and what she means by that is it's like, well, like you're like washing the dishes or like watering a plant or like making your bed, but like these are the moments of your life. This is what it is. Like, so, you know, sometimes it's like cool to like slow down a little bit and not be always like jumping onto like, oh my god, I've got all this other stuff going on, and just sit back and enjoy the moments of your life for what they are, even if it's a little boring. So I don't know, that's not like a cohesive like statement, but I guess that's kind of like how I'm thinking about things these days.
So how would you define balance for you personally?
I would define balance in terms of like giving everything its own space, like finding time for doing nothing, finding time for working, finding time for eating, finding time for your relationships. Like, that's what I mean by balance. Like, sometimes it's hard when it's like you're eating a meal and you're talking to your significant other and you're texting and your brain is like also like simultaneously like thinking about something else. So to me, like, balance is about like being present and making room to be present in like a number of contexts. Like I said, I feel like I spent, you know, the first 5 years of my like professional and adult life really like focused on work, and everything kind of like rolled up into that. And so like I took time this year to like take a beat from that sort of part of my life and kind of recalibrate. And I guess I came out of that realizing that I'm not happy unless there's like lots of little buckets, and not only little buckets, but that each little bucket has its own kind of like space and its own vibe, and that like any kind of like overlapping between the buckets is purposeful and not just like mindless. Like the story I just mentioned, the scenario, like texting, eating, talking, thinking, it's like that's just kind of like you're not really like thinking that through, and what you're really doing is like detracting from all those experiences. And so like, you know, like an example of how I'm trying to find balance concretely, or like one avenue, is like I don't bring my phone to the kitchen when I do meals. I leave it in my office, or I leave it on the couch or whatever, and I allow myself just to be present, like cooking my meal, eating my meal, and interacting with, you know, whoever I might be with. And it's been really liberating, honestly. And it's like introduced a new, like doing this like abstractly has introduced a new layer of like tranquility, I guess. I mean, I'm not like a Zen monk or anything, but like I definitely have been able to like slow down my like vibe and kind of like be a little bit more at ease in anything that I'm doing, because I've like I've like made space for it. A good friend of mine, actually, like I was speaking with him about he recently had a child, and we've been friends for a long time, and I asked him, you know, man, that's, you know, incredible, but like, you know, is it stressful? Like, how are you managing? Because he's like me, he works a lot, and he's like, you know, nothing's too stressful if you make space for it. And I thought that was really cool. And he's like, so before I had my son, I made space for him in my life. I rearranged my priorities, and I rearranged my like the way that my professional life is structured, and I made space so it's not stressful at all. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool, man. That's pretty enlightening. So yeah, that balance to me is like making space, and then also like having like lots of different energy spaces you can occupy, because like otherwise, like if you try to mold them all into one, it just becomes toxic, because they're, you know, all these energy spaces don't necessarily play nice with each other.
Now, was there a specific moment or accumulation of moments, or any moments that stand out to you as significant in your process of reaching this understanding of moving from just having an emphasis on work to trying to find a greater balance in life?
I think it's sort of like it's a culmination of like a lot of like cumulative toxicity, I think, in terms of just my own sort of way of like approaching things. So I mean, like I think basically what it came to is that I spent from the year 2014 through early 2020 devoting 95% of all my energy to my career. And that's a long time. And what happens in the background of that is that, a lot of other things start to suffer. Your relationships, your own mental health, your own self-esteem, because it's all, you're kind of like hitching your horse to one wagon, or I don't really know what's a good like analogy, but you're putting all your eggs in one basket, I guess. And so, all the ups and downs, there's no balance. There's no like, oh, well, like my job is bad, but my relationship is good, so like I feel okay. Or like my job is bad, but I love myself, so like it's okay. It's like, well, my job is bad, so everything's bad. And so I think that like basically like I spent those years like very aggressively like building my professional persona, and that was definitely really gratifying and exciting, and I don't really begrudge myself having done that, but I got to a point where I guess I had the luxury and the privilege of being able to press pause in a moment of just exhaustion after all those years, and sort of like, I guess it was one of those things where I had to like break down in order to kind of build things back up again. And so yeah, I mean there wasn't really any moment. I think it was just like a long time of like neglecting certain aspects of myself and certain aspects of like a diverse and like balanced life. And then at the end of it all, I think I just was like at the end of my rope, and ended up just taking a long break, which gave me a lot of time. There's a lot of phases that I went through during, I took about 6 months just sort of away from the world. Honestly, it's kind of funny because this sort of like COVID reality intersected very closely with the start of my break, and so I was kind of like able to put myself in a bubble and work through like a lot of different layers that had built up over the years. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question directly, there wasn't really a moment exactly. It was really just like the culmination of like so many years of like focused effort in one vector, and neglecting all the other ones, that just caused me to be like, hold on a sec, this is just not working. It doesn't feel right. I don't feel how I want to feel. I think I can do better. But I need to peel back some layers in order to understand how. And it took a while. It took like 6 months to kind of get there, I would say. And not all of that was like focused effort, but it was like, I think things started to become apparent to me after like the first couple of months of just like totally like disengaging. And then from there, it was like pretty clear to me like what I needed to do.
What were some of the ways you felt before this transition of yours, and how has how you felt changed as a result of this effort on your part?
Ways I felt before: tired, discouraged, like I was like chasing a goal, like chasing a carrot, and the stick kept getting longer. I think I felt like overwhelmed because I felt like there was a lot of things that were like not in my control, that I didn't like how they were going. So I think I felt frustrated, disempowered. Nothing terribly negative, I guess. Just more, I just felt like I didn't have the control I wanted over the way I felt. And I just felt tired, and I felt like my self-esteem wasn't where I wanted it to be. And I wanted to be I've never been one of these people that like thrives in their negativity. Like I've never been like, I'm depressed, and I'm not saying like, I'm not trying to like say like people like choose to be one way or the other, but like, you know, some people like lean into the way they feel, like, you know, I feel discouraged and I'm just going to be sad now. And I've always been like, I feel like a negative emotion, but like I strive to be happy. Like I strive to be at peace. I strive to be energized. And so it was one of those things where it's like I would know what I wanted, but I just like wasn't feeling that way and I didn't know how to. And so I was like, damn, like this is really annoying. Like I want to wake up in the morning and feel like empowered and like energized to approach my day, but I just don't. And like I'm not like, I don't know what needs to change, but like I'm not gonna live like, you know, I'm gonna be turning 29 in the fall. And so I was like thinking to myself, you know, the habits I'm forming now are probably going to start to like solidify to the point where like I'm just going to become this person. And I was like, nah, like I'm not going to go into my 30s like feeling like this. And like I want to like set a new trend for myself. And I'm not perfect, right? Like I'm not trying to say like I wake up every day now just feeling like $1 million, but I definitely feel better. There was a second part of your question. You might need to remind me of it.
It was, how do you feel now?
Now I feel like more in control. Like I feel like even in the areas that are not where I want them to be, I feel like I understand how to like work those areas. Like I've developed like, I guess like tangible, like actionable sort of like steps I can take to improve in the areas where I feel like I want to improve. And so it was like a lot of the time off was spent sort of like exploring different methods and different ways of kind of like of kind of like attacking those little buckets. And then now I feel like I've got like a tool set of like approaches I can take to kind of like, if like, you know, I'm not feeling how I want to, I can kind of like tie it back to like something I'm doing or not doing. So now I feel like more in control. And then like holistically, I feel really healthy. I feel really energetic, and I feel really like optimistic, and I feel like at peace. Like I feel like I'm a lot better. Like there was like a version of me that would react to adversity or react to things not going my way with a lot of anger, and frustration and tension. And I feel like I've come to a place where I'm learning to instead like react with more like curiosity. And some of that comes from like just like taking a rest and resetting. Some of that comes from like conscious like learning. And some of that like, yeah, I don't know. I had a third place where that comes from, but I honestly can't remember what I was going to say. But yeah, definitely more at peace, I would say. Yeah, more at peace I think is the best way to put it. More balanced.
How far along would you say you are in this process, and how confident are you in it? Like, do you feel like you're just in the first steps? Do you feel like you're all the way there? You're halfway there? How do you feel about where you are in this process and where you'll go?
I mean, I don't think I'll ever be fully realized. I mean, I think life is like a vessel that you try to fill, but you never can. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, I think it's like really just like, to me, it's exciting to like just keep building off of the momentum I already have. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's like one of those things where like to say that I'll at one point be done with my process, it's like, well, that doesn't really mean anything, because like your goals and your priorities and your motivations shift. For me, it's more about like abstractly understanding how to like be in control of your own self, and have a good relationship with your own self. And then from that basis, you can kind of like, you know, you evolve and your interests and motivations shift and change. So I guess I'd say I'm in the infancy of my journey of understanding like how I work, right? Like what my little like levers are, if that makes sense. And so I'm kind of looking forward to like continuing to like zero in on my little tactics and techniques, and like understand how to really like, you know, manipulate my own emotions. And so I'm new to that. I mean, I've been sort of in this new phase for like a few months. And I'm just excited to keep kind of like, keep working on it. And I don't think I'll ever be done, but like, I think there'll come a point where I'm like a lot better equipped to handle whatever comes at me. I think I'm already like in a pretty good spot with regard to that, but you know, old habits die hard, right? And so yeah, they do. And so like there's still work I have to do in terms of like, you know, like how I react to certain things or how I think about certain things, and that's okay. I'm cool with that. Like I'm not in any kind of a rush. Like I just needed to like I just needed to reformat some stuff, and then from there I'm all good.
You talked about how it's affected you inwardly and how it's changed how you feel. Have you noticed a change in your exterior life, the relationships around you, the things around you, the things that your life affects?
Yeah, 100%. Pretty much like all of my interpersonal relationships have improved, I would say, over the last like couple months. And I wouldn't say I've always had great relationships with friends and family and with my girlfriend. But I would say that having made a bit more space in my heart for these people that are special to me has definitely helped my relationships. I mean, as an example, this summer, for the first time in a while, I've gone to my parents' place every single weekend and just spent a day just hanging out with usually with my phone just in the house. And I haven't done that, man, in for 5 years, and it's it makes me bummed out that I hadn't, but I'm really happy that I am now. Also, I mean, probably the biggest tangible well, I guess there's a few. I mean, my relationship with my girlfriend has gotten a lot better too, because I've taken I read this great book called The 5 Love Languages, and that's that, man, that guy is dope. You should read that book if you haven't. You haven't, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, man, that book was dope. I also read this book called The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, which was also pretty dope. Recommend that. And those things gave me some great tools for how to improve my relationship. I think I talked about balance earlier. I definitely brought a lot more balance into my relationship with her, because like I mentioned about leaving my phone when I go to the kitchen. I mean, that's big for me, because she's the center of my attention in those times, which is important for her and important for me too. And then, you know, a big place that I've sort of concretely altered is the way that my career, my job kind of atmosphere looks like. I definitely spent, I was a lot more thoughtful when I approached what kind of work I wanted to do when I kind of came back into working after taking a few months away. And that's not something I've done in the past. Not to say I've chosen my career roles blindly. That's not it at all. But just sort of the basis of evaluation kind of shifted. Away from just oh, is the company cool? Is the title what I want? Are the people who I like? Because I've definitely loved the jobs I've had in the past, and I've been lucky to work with some extremely talented people that have taught me a ton about everything. But this time around, I kind of took it slow, and I sort of shifted the things that I would put value in terms of the questions that I'd be asking, and kind of the arrangements that I'd be seeking out. And so yeah, so that's an external way, I think, too, that you know, my kind of newish, my new approach, or the approach that I'm taking now, has kind of manifested. Yeah, I'd say definitely interpersonal relationships, and in my work, and I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't know if it's internal or external, but I've definitely been also putting a greater emphasis on my physical health, which has internal benefits, but also obviously external, because it's like I don't know. I mean, your body is both internal and external, I guess, but you get it.
Now, would you say this has made you, and this is kind of like a bit of a hot question, I'm gonna put you on the spot here, but would you say this has made you a better person to know?
Yeah, definitely. That is a hot question. I have to think about how I want to answer that. I mean, my gut, as you just saw, was yes. And I mean, it's like, I think it's less about like the way that I am. It's like, I don't think I've really changed a lot about how like, well, yeah, I guess I'll just go with yeah. And the reason for that is that like, I have a better relationship with myself, or I'm building a better relationship with myself. And so I think that helps me to be a better friend. Like, I think it helps me to like feel like there's less like ego involved, because I'm not so like intent on like having my relationships validate me, I guess, if that makes sense. So I think that is like a minor upgrade probably for people who know me. And also just like I'm getting a little bit better about just like being attentive when I talk to people, being a bit more present, like I mentioned. I'd say I'm probably better to know for the people who are closest to me. I'd say like people who are more like in the acquaintance bucket, or like in the more friend versus close friend bucket, probably wouldn't notice a change. But like I would know that I'm changing my approach, I guess. Like, I would know that like, oh, I'm talking to you and you alone, or like, you know, whatever, I'm coming at you from like a peaceful place. But like, definitely I'd say I'm a better person to know to my like close inner circle. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think being present, being at peace is definitely like a better person to be around, than someone who's like addicted to their phone, or like always kind of like in multiple places at once. Like I'm trying to move away from that where I can. And I think that if you look at the most successful people in the world, like a lot of them value and like strive for these same types of lifestyles, like having like a separation of home and work, and at least mentally, because in this time it's hard to physically separate those things.
Do you have an idea of what you would like to do next? Do you plan to keep working on this for a long time? Do you have something else in mind that you'd like to work on? What does future you look like, and what is future you doing to keep on this journey?
I'm excited to keep evolving based on the foundation. Like, I have a hard time like being like, oh, this new me. It's like, I mean, it's all like gradient, right? It's not like a black and white where it's like there was like the old me and the new me, and like this is who I am forever now, and like before, the person I was before is dead. It's like this gradient, right, where it's like you know, like there's just like things that I'm like discovering about myself that I can now kind of like take and move forward with. But where do we go from here? I mean, I think for me personally, like my work has always played a huge part in my lifestyle, and so being really conscious about where that fits in is going to be huge for me. Right now I'm working for myself, and I say that like loosely because I have partners obviously, and like connections, so it's not like I'm just like chopping wood and selling it or something like that, but like I'm not currently like in a full-time capacity like tied to an entity, and that's really empowering for me because I have a high level of accountability, and so I think it's about playing to my strengths, right? And so like at this exact moment in time, I'm not sure if it's in my best interest to be and it's like I need to be like focused on like my internal world, I guess. And so like the way I've set things up now has afforded me the ability to have like a lot of time to myself, where like I'm just kind of working independently, and not like in the fray with a lot of like timelines and like high pressure type stuff. So I think like building a work situation, even like there'll come a day when I go back into the mix, and like, I mean, maybe we'll see. But you know, if the day does come when I go back into the mix and I'm like back at another startup or like whatever, I think I'll be in a position to like manage that more effectively. And I'm kind of like wanting to like tread water in like a more independent space until I feel comfortable like consistently drawing those lines for myself. But I mean, shoot, if I could like keep being like pretty independent for a while, that would be awesome, and I think it would be good for me too. So yeah, I think moving forward, like definitely like keeping continuing to be conscious about the way I build my career and my job situation. That's going to be huge for me. Also, just like not losing steam. Like one of the things that I've found a lot of value in over the last several months is reading, which is sort of funny because like I actually majored in English, and I've been studying literature for, you know, my whole, from like high school till whatever through college and all that. But I never really read a lot of nonfiction. Like I never really read anything that was like I don't want to call it like self-help literature, but like I never really read anything that was like just like sort of reflections on life and how to live it. I always would read like fiction, like, you know, like Faulkner type stuff, and so I started to branch out into like a more like practical type of reading, and that's been really dope. And so to tie this back to the question, definitely I don't want to lose steam on doing that, and I think the Audible subscription I have will help me with that. Another area that I've sort of discovered is super critical, I think, for my like mental well-being is staying fit and active. I was an athlete, a pretty serious athlete, for 14 or 15 years. And when I started to work a lot, in like 2015, 2016, when things started to get really intense for me in my career, I totally just like neglected that part of my life. And I think that through a lot of conversations with my girlfriend and kind of just like thinking about it and sort of trying different things, I've come to the realization that like physical health plays a big role in my mental health. And so basically like what I'm trying to say to answer the question is like basically like consciously shaping my career in a way that like plays to my strengths and like mitigates my weaknesses, but then also like not like, you know, people like start doing things, and then when they feel like, okay, I'm good now, they get complacent, like, all right, like, you know, I feel good, but then that's when they backslide. And like I'm a pretty determined person, like I have a strong work ethic, and so for me it's just a matter of like staying on track, keeping my routines going. You know, like things like the phone thing that I mentioned. It's easy to slip back into like checking a quick text. And I caught myself this very morning. Actually, I caught myself because I heard my computer from across the room ding, and I checked my phone at the breakfast table, and I was like, hold up. And I actually took my phone, I put it face down on the table, and I slid it across over to my girlfriend, and I was like, you're in charge of this for the rest of the meal. Like, I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, and so it's like, it's easy to like, cause like, you know, when I didn't work for like 4 or 5 months. And so it's like easy during that time to just be like, whatever, my phone, I don't care. But now that like things are starting to get a little more complex for me, like I'm consulting, I have a few clients, like I've got some accountability. Obviously, it's a little more challenging to stick to those good habits. Like it's a little more challenging to wake up in the morning and go for a run because now I've got like work to do. But it's like, nah, like you need to remember like the basis of why these habits got formed in the first place, and don't slack. Because otherwise you're going to find yourself right back where you started, and that's like totally stupid.
Now, what are some things that you do to keep yourself accountable to stay on track? What are, like, do you control your exterior environment, mental exercises? Like what is it that you do that keeps you consistent?
Routine. Yeah, routine. For sure. Like routine, and then also like structuring. Like I mentioned with my job, it's like, look, if I like structure it in a way that doesn't allow me to kind of like get addicted to it, then that's great. So that's one thing, like setting yourself up with like sort of like your, like all the pieces of your life, like they have to like reinforce what you want. And so if I set up myself for balance, like in terms of like my job, then I'll have balance. But other than that, I mean, back when I was in high school, my senior year was probably my most intense year of training, honestly, probably throughout my whole swim career. And so the way that worked was 3 mornings a week. I'd get up at 3:50 and go train from like 4:30 to 6:30, and then I'd go to school, and then I'd go from school to practice again for 3 hours, and I come home, do homework, and then that was 3 days a week. And the other 2 days a week, it was like school, gym, swim practice. Then Saturday morning, it was swim practice, gym. So it was like 11 times in the pool a week, 4 gym sessions a week, and then high school. And I remember talking to my coach and being like, dude, like, how am I supposed to do this? I'm tired. I'm waking up at 3:50 in the morning and then putting in like a 18-hour day. Like, this is insanity. And he's like, it's only hard if it's not a habit. If you just don't give yourself the option, if you just like do this for like 3-4 weeks, I promise you it's not going to be a challenge anymore. And I was like, all right, I trust you. I'm going to try. And so I just like didn't give myself the option. I was like, no matter how bad you feel, wake your ass up, get to the pool, figure it out. And lo and behold, 4 weeks later, it was just the deal. It was like, well, like, it's basically what I'm trying to say is like, if you give yourself like these outs, if you're like, well, this morning, like, I'll give you an example. This morning I woke up and I looked outside and it looked kind of like weird outside. Like, it looked kind of like, I don't know, it was like cloudy or like smoggy or like what it was. And I checked the air quality and it was like air quality bad. And I was like, oh, like maybe I shouldn't go for a run. Like, like, and I was like, no, like that's not gonna fly. Like, because like if you allow a chink in your armor, it's like perpetual. You have to like make these habits for yourself that are like non-negotiable, and then all of a sudden your life like all kind of falls around it. And so for me, it's like creating routines, and then like over time those things just become natural, where it's like you're not even like thinking twice about it. So like little things like for example, I was like, after reading the 5 Love Languages book, I was like, I'm determined to like give more quality time in my relationship. And so instead of just having that vague, abstract, like, I'm gonna give more quality time, it's like, that's cute, but like, okay, like, sure, like accountability, right? Well, all right, let's build some parameters here. And for me, that was like, okay, meal times, that's an easy win. At meal times, no phone, like, done deal. Like, that's like a box I don't even have to really like draw for myself, because I'm already sitting down to eat, and honestly, why do I need to be on my freaking phone while I'm having lunch anyway? And so it's like, for me, it's like about and then it's like also like with the reading, I kind of combine that with another routine, because I listen to audiobooks while I run. And so every morning I get my 30-40 minutes of like, learning, growing my sort of like I like to collect points of view. And so that's how I kind of look at it, the reading. And so I'm like, all right, I'm collecting my points of view. I'm getting my physical workout in, 2 birds with 1 stone. That's great. It actually makes it easier to do the runs, because I love listening to audiobooks. And so I'm like, I kind of look forward to it almost, because I'm like, yay, like I get to like listen to my book. Like, it's not as much fun as listening to Harry Potter for sure, but like, it's still like, so that's what I'm saying. It's like the accountability comes from creating strong routines, and then like drawing like hard lines and creating habits about like, again, meal times, or like phone downtime, or like this summer, it's been every Saturday I'm going to my parents' house. That's just what I'm doing. I'm just going to be there. Saturday, you'll find me poolside at my mom's place, like chilling with my mom and dad. And now it's like, I said to my girlfriend, hey, you want to go to my parents' house tomorrow? And she's like, yeah, I mean, I just assume that's just what we're doing. And I'm like, hell yeah, that's what we're doing. Like, like that's just the deal now. Yeah, so I think, I mean, that swim coach was wise when he told me that. I think it's totally true that, like, if you make it non-optional for yourself, all the pieces will fall into place around it. As soon as you start being able to give yourself excuses, you're done. Like, it's over, because like now there's always an excuse, right? Every day there's an excuse. I'm tired, I stayed up too late last night, oh, I overate yesterday, I'm dehydrated. Okay, well, that's cool, but like, you know what, get out there and run half the distance if you feel that bad. And half the time, like, I remember like another time, swimming taught me a lot of stuff. I remember this other time there was this set, and it was really hard to the point where I like was like literally throwing up. And there's this girl who's such a talented athlete. She's a super talented entrepreneur too. And I remember she told me, I was like, I got the option to skip the rest of the set because I was like throwing up. And she's like, look, like, you can skip it, but I promise you that if you do it, you'll be glad you did afterward. Like, it sucks right now, but I promise you 20 minutes afterward, you're going to be happy you did it. And guess what? She was right. And so I think it's the same type of thing where it's like, you know, even if you feel bad, get out there, just tell yourself, well, I'll just take a quick little walk around. I mean, shit, as long as I'm doing something. Once you get out there, odds are you're going to feel all right. You're going to get it done, and you're going to be happier that you did. Because like, I think breaking promises you made to yourself detracts from your self-esteem, and that feels bad. And so I know that my self-esteem is really important to me, and it's something I worked on consciously. And so I don't want to break those promises I made to myself, because like I love myself, and I owe myself doing good things for myself. So cheers.
Now, has this changed the way anyone else in your life interacts with you, or has anyone around you commented or noticed this change in you?
Yeah, I mean, my mom, like, every time she sees me says, like, man, I love No Job Andrew. And I'm like, yeah, me too. Definitely my girlfriend is a huge area where I'm getting a lot of positive feedback, just because, like, her love language that she receives is quality time. And, you know, there was a version of myself where she was almost perpetually competing for my attention. For the last, you know, from 2017 to 2020, as we alluded to at the start, I produced live media, and a part of that was that, and that was 7 days a week, and a part of that was that, you know, 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 7 or 8 p.m., I was glued to my phone, and usually, you know, late into the night too. And so it would be like, no matter what we were doing, she was always vulnerable to getting interrupted or having my attention shift onto something else. And I think that was really, like, you know, given what matters to her, that was really, like, catastrophic. That's kind of a dramatic word, but that was really damaging. And I felt bad about it. I always felt guilty when I would, like, check a text in the middle of a conversation, but I just, like, I don't have the wherewithal to, like, know how to draw those lines. And so I've set better habits now, and, like, better expectations where, like, you know, there's times when I'm working, and during those times, like, my attention is on that. And it's like one of those things where it's like, you know, you try to give your attention to two things, and then neither one gets what they need. And so, yeah, so I think exactly, it's like, you know, I'm sure there's a great adage for that, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. But you know, it's true. I said a great adage. Insert adage here with my voice. Thank you. Yeah. But it's true. I mean, like, you know, my dad always, like, says, like, no half jobs, and it's like, man, like, I was doing almost, like, well, I wouldn't say I was doing half jobs on work, but I was definitely doing half jobs on, like, interacting with her a lot of the time. And that's not to say, like, I was just a jerk by any means, but, like, I think it was important for me to, like, learn, like, how to interact with her, and then do it, and, like, do it habitually, and do it, like, you know, on an indefinite basis. So yeah, I think those are two very important, like, my family and her are the most important relationships I have, and both of them have commented on it. So I think, honestly, like, I feel like a little bit like a little butterfly, because I feel like I kind of went into a cocoon, because like I said, it was weird because I like stopped working right when the whole world kind of shut down, and so I haven't really seen anybody since like March. And so, like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like I've kind of like, I've just been doing me like really hard. I actually deleted all my social media off of my phone, like all of it. I don't do that. That's been, I was actually, that's the thing I was thinking of earlier that I forgot to mention, is getting rid of social media. That's been really dope for me. I feel great having done that. And so, yeah, so, I mean, my family and my girlfriend have been like really my whole focus the last 6 months. And so they're the only ones that probably notice, but who knows, maybe when I start to go out in the world again. I'd say my professional I have new professional relationships, so they don't really they don't know the difference, but I think I'm definitely a lot more like, my old boss, my old boss, who also was like a mentor to me, taught me the importance of equanimity, and that's definitely been a pillar for me. He's cool. He's great mentor.
Want to define that word for the people in the audience who aren't familiar with equanimity?
Yeah, to me it means like, and I don't want to get like called an idiot if I define this wrong, but to me it means like being able to stay calm in the face of like chaos, and like keeping like good, let me look up a dictionary definition just to double check myself, but that's how I think about it, is like staying calm when things are crazy. Let me see how close I got to it. Yeah, exactly, there you go. Mental calmness, composure, and evenness of temper, especially in a difficult situation. Nailed it. Yeah, so that's what that means. That's what that means to me. And so I kind of expand on that, and I take it to mean like not only like, yeah, it's like being even no matter what. Like things might be going crazy, like, and this was, you know, the piece of advice he gave me was specifically related to my live media work, where it would be like things would be going crazy and I'd be losing my head, and it was like equanimity's got to be your mantra, because like you don't get things done when you're panicking. You have to be like a surgeon and just go in there and just operate, you know, just like execute, and you can't be over here like, you know, freaking out. So yeah, I don't even remember where I was going with that, but equanimity. Oh yeah, I remember. So you're asking if other people have commented on it. I definitely bring a better sense of equanimity into my professional relationships lately, and that's been something I've been working on for a while, and it's just become a bit more. It's starting to make a little more sense to me.
How have these changes made you feel about your future? Have you thought about your future? Yeah,
definitely. I feel great. I feel like I'm in the driver's seat. Like I'm excited. I'm excited for like a new phase of life. Like I'm excited because I feel healthy. I feel energetic. I feel like I've dropped a lot of bad habits. I feel like I've picked up a lot of new good habits, and I definitely am extremely satisfied with the way my work situation is panning out. Knock on wood that it keeps evolving in this direction. But yeah, I'm stoked. I mean, I feel loose. Like right now, like my job doesn't keep me in any one place. So I can go wherever I want to go. I feel like I have the tools to be the person I want to be. And like I said, I feel just like healthy. I've been eating really good. I've been losing weight. I definitely had some pretty bad eating habits over the last couple of years that I've dropped. So I'm stoked. Now, has it changed your plans for the future or your vision for the future, or has it just brightened your perception? I think it's changed. Yeah, you're good, man. No, I appreciate it. I think it's just expanded what I see. Like, I think I've like kind of like come out of a period of tunnel vision, and so I'm excited about developing eclectic vectors in my life versus just like one or a few. There's like now like a lot of different little tendrils that I'm kind of like working on. Like I'm like, all right, cool, I got my job, but I've also got like my relationships, I've got my own physical health, I've got my mental health, like I've got like my fitness, which I guess is like physical health, but what I meant there is like diet. Like there's like I'm just excited because I just feel like this sense of like, wow, like I can be whoever I want to be and feel however I want to feel. And yeah, I think it's just created a lot of parallel streams that were all kind of like there, but now they're kind of in the light, and like kickstarted, and hopefully I can add to that, but yeah, I definitely feel like more grounded and more ready to like make big decisions, and like more like clear, like, and less like, I think stress makes you scared. I think low self-esteem makes you scared. And so I feel like a little bit less timid. I feel like more just like, whatever, man, I've got my tool set. I can take it anywhere and just do what I want to do. So yeah.
What would you say to someone who is in a similar or having a similar experience to where you were before, who has maybe more of a unhealthy focus on one specific area of their life, who doesn't exercise more of an awareness of what they're doing and what they're focusing on, and balance?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think, exercise is very specific for me because it played such a huge part of my life that when I cut it out, I think it was like there was something missing now, where it's like, oh wow, like you got this, like, whether it's like the little dopamine hit, little endorphin hit, or just like the sense of like feeling of like dominion over your own body. I feel like that was something that was like really foundational for me. And so when I cut that out, I mean, it was hard for me to see it. My girlfriend actually helped me understand that, the role that played for me. So I would say, I mean, it's hard, because like for me, I mean, the advice that I would give is like take a beat, and like turn everything off for a while if you can, because like when you like simplify, like everything else is thrown into stark contrast. But that's not something everybody can do. Like I said, I'm very lucky that I was able to just literally disappear off the face of the mat for like 6 months, and just do whatever I needed to do during that time. But I guess advice that I would give to somebody looking to like change their like schema of like the world, or change their habits, is like try to be concrete about it. Try to like find concrete actions you can take. That's something that I kind of came to, where it'd be like, I'm like trying to wake up every morning and like feel happier. I'm trying to like wake up every morning and like live this mindset, but it's like, what are the actual things, the actual things you're doing to reinforce that? And I think for me it was like, okay, well, like I don't understand how to get a handle on like intangible things like self-esteem, right? So like for me it was like, all right, well, that clearly I'm not successful in just waking up and being intentional. Like I need to like maybe learn something, and so like reading books was my way of attacking that. So like I guess to like boil down the answer, take time away if you can, and like simplify your life as much as you possibly can. Because it's like, it's one of those things. There's like some lady who's very acclaimed, and I can't recall her name. I'm sorry to her that I can't. I don't think she cares either way. But she talks about like, oh, you should only have like 50 objects, or like, whatever it may be, and you'll have a happier life, and you'll realize you don't need all that other stuff. Like pare down, and then you'll like understand what actually matters, type of vibe. So props to her. That's a good idea in terms of physical possessions, but I think the same can be true of like mental like routines. So if you can, take some time, even if it's just a week, just to kind of like disappear for a sec and spend some time with yourself. But if you can't do that, which is hard to do, if you can't do that, I guess I would say to just like try to find things that work for you, and it might take some time. Definitely took me some time to find the like places that were actually impactful. Be open to experimenting, trying new things, and honestly, like I think the biggest thing is like being humble. It's hard to, like one of the things in the 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, one of these exercises. I didn't do this exercise, but like I noted it abstractly. It's like accepting reality. and he said that like he's like every night stand in front of the mirror naked for 2 minutes and just acknowledge that this is who you are. Like, just acknowledge, like, you know, might not like myself, but I am me. Or like, there's this lawyer in his seminar that was like angry, and he's like, I refuse to acknowledge that I'm angry. And he was like, okay, well, will you acknowledge that you refuse to acknowledge that you're angry? And he's like, no, like, I won't. And he's like, okay, well, will you acknowledge that you're unwilling to acknowledge that you refuse to acknowledge that you're angry? And he's like, he just kept backing it up until the guy eventually was like, fine, I'll accept that. And it takes a lot of humility to, like, you know, basically like accept a reality that you don't like, that you yourself have created, or just like that you think could be better, even if you kind of like it. Because sometimes like the things that are bad for us aren't necessarily like super like unpleasant. But I think that there's also like, you have to be humble enough to like recognize the reality of what's going on from all angles, not just through your own eyes, and then be like willing to like, you know, willing to like try new things and change them. Because like, if you think you're perfect, or if you think there's no room for you to improve, or if you just like think like, you know, oh, I'm above it all, you're screwed. You're not going to go anywhere in terms of like, you know, changing yourself, because you think, you know, okay, well, if you can't acknowledge the reality that it, like, you know, like of the feedback that you're getting from yourself or others or whatever, then like you're, you know, you need to basically find something you can accept and work forward from there, is what that book taught me. But I think humility plays a big part in at least getting things kick-started. And then from there, it's like, all right, like, you know, let me find some concrete steps I can take. Because like, frankly, like waking up and just being like, I'm gonna be happy today, I mean, for me at least, it doesn't work. And it may be something as simple as just like, I'm gonna take a walk every afternoon, or I'm gonna have like 20 minutes away from my phone, or like I'm gonna do 10 minutes of exercise, or I'm gonna eat one additional vegetable every day, or I'm gonna meditate. There's like a lot of different things. I'm gonna have one good conversation, you know, but like I think things are good. I think like concrete actions are important, because like they're like the foundation of a routine. And I think routines hold you accountable, and I think accountability leads to longevity of good practices, and, you know, that leads to evolution and all that good stuff. So it's like building blocks. And I think the basis of it is like humility and concrete action, and then everything kind of goes from there. It's my long-winded. I'm kind of like forming this as I go, so I apologize for the for the rambling, but that's kind of where I think I would land.
What would you say to summarize all of this, your personal philosophy, and what it means to you, and how it's changed your life?
My personal philosophy is definitely like balance, peace, equanimity. I think it's changed my life by just like throwing into the light like that there's more than one thing that's important to me, and also that I need to be important to me too, and that like loving yourself is a big piece of the puzzle, and then finding balance between all the other things that like enhance that and like bring you life and energy and joy. And so yeah, my personal philosophy is try to find balance and try to find peace in that balance, and try to find peace in every situation, because like you control like my girlfriend's always telling me you can't control anything except for yourself, and I think that's really important. Because it's like, you know, it ties into equanimity. It's like, if a situation is nuts, like I can't control the insanity of the situation necessarily. I can just kind of control like my approach to it, and like how I feel. And so yeah, I'd say that kind of encapsulates it pretty well.
Thank you. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't want to be like over-aggrandizing, but you know, anybody that's listening, like, love yourself. You deserve it. You deserve to be accepted. You deserve to be at peace, no matter who you are, where you come from, what people might tell you. You're dope, and you deserve to feel that way. And others might not make you feel that way. But you need to find a way to make yourself feel that way because, you're awesome. And also, just shout out to Russell. Definitely think that he's a great person, and has a great vision. And I hope this podcast reaches people because I think it's a nice mission. And so props. And I'm pleased to be a part of it. No one's ever asked to interview me before, so this was definitely really flattering. So yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. And it was excellent to have you on the show. It was a great time.
Cool. Yeah, this was fun.
Thank you very much for joining us. This has been the Struggle for Meaning podcast. Our guest has been Andrew Turk, and I don't know what episode number it is ever, because I keep changing the order that I put the episodes out after I record that. But thank you for joining us. And if you want to support the show, you can find us on Patreon at the Struggle for Meaning podcast, or you can find us there on Facebook. Have a great life, take care of yourselves, and cheerio. Thank you for joining me. This has been The Struggle for Meaning with Russell Eugene Welch III as your host. That's me. If you have enjoyed this program, please share it with someone else and leave a 5-star review to help us grow. If you go to lingeringshadow.com, you can find my blog, social media, updates on all my current projects, and announcements for future ones. I post all kinds of stuff on there every day. We always have an ongoing conversation about personal growth and finding meaning there. So hop on over and let's hear your thoughts too. Again, that's lingeringshadow.com. Keep learning, keep growing, and take it all one day at a time. You got this. Remember, you are not alone. We all live life together, so let's share life together. Now, here's a moment for yourself to just breathe and feel alive. Take care.